It's often said that the hardest force to overcome is inertia. Newton's first law of motion says that an object at rest will stay at rest unless acted upon by a greater outside force. And let me assure you, there are a lot of forces in this world trying to keep you at rest. So let's start there. When I was a kid, there was this big ice storm that came through that knocked out our power for a couple of weeks. And at the time, we lived in this house that only had an electric heat pump. And as you probably can figure out, when the power goes out, so does the heat. But I was young then, so I really don't remember too much. I remember that I spent a lot of time under blankets. And I remember hanging out at my grandparents' house because they had a fireplace. But I also remember that my dad made a commitment that he would never again live in a house that didn't have wood heat. And so when the power came back on, he had a wood stove installed in our house. And every home that I've lived in since has had a fireplace or wood stove. And so to this day, I hardly use anything beyond my stove to heat the house. But as you may have picked up on already, I'm a bit of a traditionalist. When it comes to starting a fire at my place, I've got 2 rules. Rule 1, you only can use wood to start the fire. No paper, no kerosene, no starter logs. And rule number 2, you only get 1 match. Now, under these conditions, you need a little more careful planning. I can't just take a big wet log and throw a match on it and expect it to burn. I have to take my time and do it right the first time. Because I do a lot of woodworking, I usually have a lot of wood shavings lying around, and so what I typically do is get a big handful of them and place them in the fireplace. And then I take a piece of dry cedar or pine, something that's going to burn easily, and start splitting it down into smaller and smaller pieces, and then I'll set them to the side. And then I take a match and very carefully light it, and gently place it against the wood shavings. And then the expected happens. Shavings catch fire. But I can't sit back and go, me man, me make fire, because there isn't enough substance in the shavings to heat my house. If I stop now, the fire will burn out before it can radiate any real heat, and the light will be nothing but a memory. But it's still not strong enough to throw a big log on it, and so I start adding the small pieces of wood to the flame. Pieces of wood no bigger than the match that I used to start it, and then I start adding little bigger pieces of wood, pieces the size of pencils. Fire is getting bigger, but I still can't stop. It's still not enough. They'll still go out. And so I keep tending it and adding what it needs, but never more than it can bear. And soon a hot bed of coal starts to emerge, and the fire begins to radiate its heat. It becomes stronger, and so I add more pieces of wood larger than before, and the fire continues to grow bigger and bigger. And then, eventually, the fire grows so strong that I can take the biggest, greenest, wettest log, and even it will burn. And this fire will warm my house through the coldest and darkest night. I bring this up because the same lessons apply to our lives. Whatever it is in our lives that we want to overcome, we have to understand that we can only start where we are and nowhere else. We have to start where we are, not where we want to be. And we have to start making the small changes that will ultimately affect the bigger ones. Maybe you need to get rid of some stuff. Maybe you need to get your finances in order. Maybe you need to learn how to use a hammer. Whatever it is, start there. And then add to it. Start looking for the next right answer that's taking you towards your dream and not away from it. Find it and then deal with it and then keep moving forward. Keep breaking the inertia that makes you want to stop. Over and over, you step up and you keep adding the things that are moving you towards your destination, and you keep your own personal fire growing bigger and bigger. And then maybe in a few months or a few years, this proverbial fire of yours will be bright enough and strong enough to illuminate your world, and you can take the biggest and greenest and wettest log in your life, and even it will burn. But then you've got to do the next right thing. The next time that the night is cold and rain is falling down, and when you hear the knock of a tired stranger at your door who is drenched and confused and alone, you can say to them, "Come, sit by my fire. Warm yourself and gain the strength you need to continue on your journey." And then you will truly understand not only what it means to live, but to live deliberately.